Welcome. So I am still sick, believe it or not, but I wanted to try to put out a video. There was some discussion on a Discord about difficulty rankings. Now, this is the Gamerhaven Discord. My buddy Sab put out a tier list. He said, if you disagree with it, make your own list. So here we are. But even though I am sick, I'm going to try to get through it, try to give you guys my honest opinions on where all of these encounters fall, including the challenge mode or the LCM. Some of these I have completed on challenge mode. Some of them I have not. Some of them I will not attempt. But I do kind of understand what it takes to go through all of these encounters. And I'm going to try to make this a little bit more than just a me talking to a tier list video. And I'll try to show you some of the mechanics or some of the stuff based on the video that I have available to give you guys some visuals on what I'm actually talking about when I'm explaining these things. So hopefully it's a little bit more instructional and informative than just so without further ado, here is Silhouette's raid boss difficulty tier list. So we could get started with Veil Guardian. He is the first of many, and Veil Guardian is, in my opinion, easy. I think Veil Guardian is a great starting point for any raider. It is literally the first raid boss ever entered into the game back in Heart of Thorns, and it gives you the concept of actually needing to do some mechanics. Like, you're gonna need a tank. The very first boss has a tanking mechanic. You have a green circle mechanic, which largely gets ignored, but you also have the idea that you need certain types of builds. You need condition damage builds or versus power damage builds. And I think overall it is pressuring enough and challenging enough in present day to kind of be a good starting point. I don't think that somebody like Karn, who is also super easy, is really all that useful in teaching raids. I think that basically Karn is like a golem more so than a raid boss, at least on normal mode. And even on challenge mode, he is fairly easy as well. In terms of Wing 1, Veil Guardian, I think these guys are pretty much like any good entry point. You could probably even include Mo. So I actually did a Mursat Overseer yesterday while I was on stream. I was trying to do the raid encounter daily, and somebody joined and asked me, hey, I've never done this, can I just join? I watched a video, I have a proper build. I said, sure, I don't care, whatever. Let's come kill this thing, right? And we just kind of blasted it. And by the end of it, the dude was just like, that's it? And it's like, yeah, that's it, man. Veil Guardian, Karn, Gorseval. Gorseval is very easy because you ignore his mechanics. I think that if he had a higher health pool, like let's say he had a health pool similar to Ceres, he would be significantly harder than he is just because of the walls, and you can't just phase him before his world ender. So let's get into the next one of Wing 3, which is Sabbatha. Now, I think Sabbatha is probably here. Sabbatha is all right. Now, Sabbatha is the first real boss that has player-to-player mechanics. So the ones that are down in the easy category, it is a player interacting with the encounter directly, whereas in Sabbatha, you have a player having to interact with another player. And anytime you force that interaction, it ramps the difficulty up. Now, instead of just having one person who needs to know what to do, you need two people that need to know what to do and do it correctly. Sabbatha gives a lot of newer groups and a lot of PUG groups a lot of problems because of the cannons, and especially if you do not have somebody that can effectively kite the sapper bomb or bait it properly. You run into a lot of issues with Sabbatha. A lot of people will end up flame walled. A lot of people will end up frustrated, or you'll end up ignoring cannons and you will lose to time. Basically, the platform's health will die before you can clear the encounter. Ultimately, like a lot of really high-end groups don't really respect Sabbatha because you can ignore everything and burn her down before anything happens, much like every normal mode boss. If you do play well enough, it all becomes a joke. In a similar sense, that's kind of what Slothazor is, right? Slothazor is kind of in the same category where you have multiple people needing to interact with the arena. But since those people become targetable, you start to have an extra layer of conscientiousness that's needed by the group. So the group now needs to understand that somebody's eating, not to kill them, and so on and so forth. And that's a pretty common thing. People will pull your slubling and kill them. All right, Matthias Gabriel. Matthias is, I want to say, probably the all right category as well. Matthias has a few things that are needed, very specific things that are needed from the group. It's primarily a reflex check where somebody in the squad needs to perform reflex, and then everybody kind of needs to understand the Wells mechanic. Now, the Wells mechanic is not something super challenging, but you do basically have two interactables. You have one that goes on the ground, and then you have one that goes in the well. And with that delineation and kind of being able to understand which one you have or how to handle it, it can kind of destabilize the run. Matthias is a very messy fight a lot of times, but it is not a very challenging fight. It's especially with the amount of Condi cleanse and everything that exists in present day. You have Keep Construct. Now I'm going to put Keep Construct and Keep Construct CM in easy mode. The only thing that the CM changes is it gives it a little ring, and I'm not even sure if it ups the health of KC, but for the most part, KC is a very easy fight these days. I would say if you are comfortable doing tanking on Veil Guardian, then you can also tank KC. Even the little ghosts that appear, a lot of people completely ignore the ghost merging at certain phases. The damage numbers of the game right now are just really, really insane. Those two have been very trivialized, the difficulty level that they actually are. We got Escort. Escort is easy. I mean, you need basically one tower person that knows what they're doing, and you can clear Escort. I think that Escort is probably the least cleared raid. Karn is annoying. It's not hard. It is literally the exact same as Karn normal mode. I want to say that it's actually all right. It does kind of step the difficulty up a little bit. It makes everybody kind of interact with the special action key, but that's all it does. Like the difference, the fact that that Mo CM and Karn CM are in the same raid wing is kind of funny because they don't really they're not really the same. Like I would say Mo CM is actually hard for a lot of groups. Even though it is not a hard encounter to clear, there are a lot of things going on. You have blues, which are client-sided, so you need to find your blue, and you have the green spikes, which are server-sided, so everybody sees where the greens are, but also you are now more likely to run into the other mechanics with the Jade minions, and you need to have your Protect kind of understand how to kite those effectively, or to actually use Protect if you end up in a bad position with your blue spawns. I've always felt that Mo CM was one of the most annoying things in the game. Maybe it's not so hard, more than annoying, just because it never fails that you end up with blue-green overlaps. You end up with people not being able to claim enough or claim the right spot. So you end up having to go to a blue that's also got lava on it, and you end up getting jacked up with that. And it becomes a very messy and chaotic fight in a lot of cases. But there are cases that if your group does know what they're doing, like if you have a static, none of these things really become a problem, and you're basically doing CM level content. You should be able to do CM level content pretty easily if you have a static. This is from the perspective of no voice comms, random players, so keep that in mind. But moving on, we have Samurag. Samurag is easy these days. The only thing you need is stability, and you basically negate his entire kit. Even the twins mechanic or the friends mechanic that people call it is kind of trivialized these days. The only real thing you need is the pusher for the mid phase, which like any druid with a longbow can do, or any engineer with flamethrower can do. There's a lot of different ways to push Rig'em into Samurog, so that one's pretty straightforward. I would say Samurog CM is higher up on the list. Most of the CMs are going to be up here, to be honest. I think that most of them are going to be up here. But Samurog CM, the difference is that you have a very specific kind of pattern that you want to follow going through it. It's not nearly as hard as it was. You used to have to deal with it for significantly longer, but now that the DPS numbers are what they are and we have way more access to stability and all these things, the team compositions have changed so much with the addition of the new specs, and the power creep has been introduced, that a lot of these older CMs are more or less trivialized by modern specs. Like if you consider yourself an up-to-date Guild Wars 2 player, these are going to be a cakewalk. So Deimos normal mode is easy mode. Basically, you just don't need to stand in oils, and you get carried by your tank and your hand kiter. Everybody else just kind of unga bungas and stands in the ward, and as long as nobody steps in oil, you're good. I would say Deimos CM is a little bit more annoying. There's only two real mechanics that change. You don't have your bubble anymore, and you cannot heal Saul. So in normal mode, you can heal Saul, or maybe you can't heal him. I don't think you can heal Saul in Deimos CM. And what ends up happening is that there are prides that spawn at certain phases of the encounter, and they kind of beeline it directly towards Saul. So while you're dealing with Deimos's mechanics, the pizza slices, the oils, the so on, you need to keep an eye out for the prides and kill them. But overall, as long as you have somebody calling the prides, it's fairly easy. I would say all of Wing 4 is fairly easy CMs. I would say most people should attempt those CMs. They are even easier than a lot of the strike CMs. That's Deimos. All right, getting into Wing 5, we have Desmina, which I think Desmina is all right. I don't think that her normal mode or her challenge mode is really that challenging. The main difference between CMs is that she has more health, and the worms continue to spawn, and the golems continue to spawn, or they start spawning earlier, I believe. Desmina CM and regular Desmina, ultimately you fight her the exact same way. You kind of rotate around the arena, killing the worms, and you need a good pusher to push things out of the way, and you pray to RNGesus about where your walls spawn and what kind of walls you get. Doom, I would say Doom is in the same category. I would say Doom CM is a little bit more challenging. Doom is way overblown in the way people think of him. It is if you are a player that just wants to DPS, just wants to come in and do your DPS rotation, Doom is not the encounter for you. Doom is an encounter that everybody should be willing and want to understand the fight and want to do a mechanic. Now, you don't have to until the last phase of it, but you do basically have 3 people that hard carry you in normal mode. Those 3 people kind of are the prevention of the wipe. Those are your greens. Your green 1, your green 2, and your green 3. And then you have the rest of the squad that is meant to kind of assist. And by that, I mean they should be trying to clean up the Reapers, make sure that they are stacked up so that way you don't get a minor dip that is in a weird spot. And for the most part, Doom is one of my favorite encounters because I think that there's a lot going on. Even when you are doing like the little mini phases like green 1 or green 2 or green 3, you still need to collect a large orb. And in the event you don't, for whatever reason, you have that ability to save the encounter still. Like you made a mistake on a mechanic, but you didn't wipe, but now you have to deal with this extra skeleton. Sometimes that's more problematic than actually wiping it's, you know, than failing to complete the green itself. But ultimately, it's just kind of a destabilization event. Now, Doom CM. Doom CM is annoying. Doom CM, the only real difference between the two is he has more health. You cannot heal the Reapers, which is the biggest problem. And you have the Echo of Doom that kind of comes and picks people up. The Echo of Doom isn't really that big of a problem. Ultimately, I don't do Doom CM all that often, mainly because it is, I would recommend static only on Doom CM, because that way you get more consistent pulls and you can prog him more consistently. But he is not something that needs a static. Like the static only is something that I consider to be like, you should, if you want to have a good time with this game and not get frustrated, it's probably a static only situation, right? And you'll see a lot coming up on some of these harder wings. You'll see that this starts to fill up. For the most part, Doom and Doom CM, especially when it came out, it was absolutely hard. It was definitely hard. We're talking about present day, however. I don't think Wing 5 as a whole really is as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. The stigma from earlier years is kind of creeping in to present day, where like the Wing 4 CMs, they kind of have a lot of stigma too, even though they're significantly easier than they once were. Conjured Amalgamate is easy, and I would say even his CM is easy. You really get carried by your Sword and Shield on CA. CA is kind of a gatekeeper because it's just like a giant big thing. You don't really view it as a raid boss or a raid encounter. It's kind of like a big structure almost, and it's kind of hard to understand at first because there are a lot of kind of like ads and trash and different phases, and you got to save your shields for the clap and so on and so on. But for the most part, with the DPS that we pump these days, CA is really just kind of an easy thing if your swords and shields are doing their job and they know what to do. Twin Largos. I would say Twin Largos normal mode is all right. I do really like the Twin Largos encounter as a whole. It's got a beautiful arena. For the most part, you treat Twin Largos like you do Fractal CMs. You kind of go in there. If you have two Fractal CM groups and you put both of those statics and you said you're going to go right, you're going to go left, they would likely be able to clear this encounter on normal mode. Challenge mode, I would say it's significantly harder. The DPS check is significantly tighter. You have a lot of different phases that you need to basically abandon the platform and then go back to the platform. Your waterlog stacks that you get when you get hit by random things, like whether you get hit by the tidal wave attack, whether you get hit by a tornado, whether you get slapped up for whatever reason, you get waterlog stacks, which is kind of like the exposed debuff, but it basically makes these guys hit like a tank. So I would say Twin Largo CM is still a fairly good challenge for most PUG groups, to the point that they usually don't even attempt it. Like these ones down here, you'll see these get attempted. You'll see Wing 4 CMs in PUGs fairly frequently, or people will roger up for it. Doom CM a little bit lesser, but you still do see it. Twin Largo CM, it's starting to get close to static territory. Kadim 1 is in a similar boat. Most people avoid Kadim 1 as a whole because there are a lot of moving parts. You have a lamp, you have a Slubling Kiter, you have different pyres that you need to kill at different phases. You have a lot of different strategies as well. You have portal strategies. The arena kind of moves around and it can kind of obscure where you're supposed to be. And then also Kadeem himself is not just a golem. He has some pretty big smashes and stuff that you need to dodge. You have the matriarch and patriarch phase and tank that kind of works with the lamp. And similarly to Sabbatha, Kadeem has a lot of those mechanics too that require two players to communicate with each other. Whereas you have your matriarch tank or your patriarch tank or whatever it is, and then you have your lamp group, and you need to communicate with one another and be able to break the lamp at certain times and so on. I think Kadeem 1 is very challenging. I think, once again, it's a very good fight, but you're starting to get into static only territory. Or the main times that I've beat Kadeem, it was like a team of like 6 guys that needed fills to clear it. That's really the only time that you're going to see Kadeem in the LFG, and it's kind of unfortunate because I think there are strategies that would work better for pugs. They haven't really been developed or popularized yet. So I think that maybe our job as content creators, maybe we could put some of that out there and make it a little bit easier for the community to get through Kadeem 1. CM, I would say CM is static only. I've never done the CM. I've never seen it in LFG, so we're gonna leave that there. All right, so this is Adina, the rock guy. Both of these guys are easy in my opinion. I would say Adina is a little bit more annoying than Sabir is. Maybe a little bit more challenging. And I would say their CMs basically change nothing in terms of how to operate the encounter. They are very straightforward. The Earth Gen and the Air Gen are basically the exact same fight, CM in normal mode. But they basically, if you could do the normal mode, you could do the CM mode. It doesn't change enough until you get to Kadeem the Peerless. Now, Kadeem the Peerless, I would say the normal mode is all right, and the CM is probably hard. Normal mode, you have a lot more leniency. This encounter, you are really carried by your pylons. If your pylons are on point and are able to not get hit by the little shark wave attack, if they are able to collect their orbs effectively, if they are able to, your team is able to drop the lava where you're supposed to, wherever your team decides you want it, it's a pretty easy fight. I would say the CM is harder because you need to deal with these mechanics more, but also you get the lava trail situation where, especially when you're talking about the attack that kind of expands the big attack on it, if you get hit by that, you end up with a lava trail and it can really make things messy. For the most part, it's not super bad. I wouldn't say it's a static only situation. I did get the clear with a pug group on CM, full CM run, so people do run it. It's pretty straightforward. All right, we're kind of getting lost here on the order of where things are at, but I'll try to keep things. I would say Greer is hard. Decima is annoying. The strategies, as long as you have the DPS, I think both of them are doable. Greer has a lot of visual clutter. It's very hard to understand what's going on. Decima has a lot of like players stand in different spots, mechanics, or spread out, or this or that, or in or out, or whatever. That's kind of annoying, but I think both of these are pretty doable. You need to have a higher level of pug, right? Your average pug group is probably going to have a challenge with both of these, and I would say Ura is probably close to Decima, where I think Ura was the easiest of the three personally, but I would say all of these CMs and LCMs are static only. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience in Wing 8, but from what I've seen and from what I can see in the LFG, it's not exactly something you want to bring your inexperienced or your learning. You definitely don't want to start there. Old Lions Court. Now, Old Lions Court is all right. There are normal mode, it's completely all right. I would say challenge mode, it's annoying. There's a couple of different things. It's always the same in normal mode, and it changes things up in challenge mode to where you kind of need to solve a little puzzle in the middle of things. Beyond that, it's not super hard. I would say maybe it is in the hard category with some of these other CMs. Like I would say OLC CM is probably close to these guys right here. You don't need a static only for it. Definitely doable without a static, but it's not the easiest fight. It's a very mechanic driven fight. The main thing is that a lot of the area of denial that ends up happening in normal mode that goes away after the phases, it doesn't end up going away in the challenge mode. That's kind of the main punishing thing that ends up happening. But and besides that, you have the little puzzle phases and stuff like that, but it's not too bad. All right, so now we're getting into Icebrood Saga 5 category, where you have, Shiver Peak Spaz, Freynier, the Bears. I would say Bone Skinner is the only real outlier here. Some people think that Whisper of Jorbag should also be kind of there, but I think it's been really trivialized recently. All of the IBS 5 is easy. That's why it's IBS 5. Then you got Bone Skinner thrown into the mix. Bone Skinner is the really only easy boss that has a kind of a DPS punish where it will kill people if you don't stand in the right spot. Ultimately, Bone Skinner is easy. It's a very easy fight. The PUG community loves IBS 5. They do it all the time. It is definitely a good starting point if you are trying to get into raids and you want to experience some of these encounters. Get into IBS 5. That will be an excellent starting point for you, even though the difficulty of, let's say, IBS 5 versus some of these other, versus Veil Guardian or Mo or Gorseval, those differences are kind of big. I would say everybody kind of would say that Mo is probably more challenging than the IBS 5. Not so much more challenging that I'm pretty confident most IBS 5 groups could clear Wing 1 or Wing 4 fairly easily if they knew the special roles of those encounters. I'd say my trend, all of these are on normal mode, are very easy. And then on their challenge mode is kind of where they start to get a little different. I would say that HT is the only one that really gives anybody any problems. I've never really felt that normal mode HT was all that bad. I felt it was actually pretty nice. It was challenging enough that you have things to do. It's engaging, but it's not so challenging that you feel like you're beating your head against the wall and you're having to prog it. With these other ones, like I would say HTCM is still a static only. You're going to want to prog that, the different phases at the different times, especially with the greens mechanic and so on. That KOCM is probably in the hard category. There are certain strategies that get used on it. Personally, I would say KOCM might actually be static only as well, but it is definitely up there in difficulty. It's probably harder than QTP CM, for instance. It's probably harder than Twin Largo CM, just because there are more mechanics you need to deal with overall. But for the most part, you could do it. You could do KO with random pugs for sure. My trend CM, I would say it's all right. It's only a little bit more challenging. You actually need to pay attention to the waves and stuff that happen. And you do have the greens that you need to deal with. Most people talk about the little bomb puzzle phase with the magnetic bomb and making sure that you line them up correctly to give your team a safe spot. I think you're more likely to fail this encounter at the greens than you are at the other one. Jean-Lai Jade, kind of the same spot where all of her mechanics are a little bit more punishing. And that's about it. Once you get into the final phase of the fight, it's more or less a DPS check than anything. Make sure you do CC her, make sure you do these. If you're going for the CM, it becomes a little bit more challenging. Jean-Lai Jade CM was one that I pugged myself. So it's the very first time I got the clear, it was with a random pug group. So it's definitely doable. It is more challenging than a lot of the other ones in this tier, but it is definitely doable. And it's definitely more challenging than like HT normal mode. Dagda normal mode is a health sponge. Dagda CM is basically a health sponge as well. Both of these can be done easy in pugs. I pugged Dagda CM right when it came out, and it was very easy. Ceres CM or Ceres normal is a health sponge, and then Ceres challenge modes are static only. And I would say Kella, or the Guardian's Glade, the new one. I don't have a little marker for her, a little crab marker. I'll just I'll add a crab in post, but I would say the crab is probably in this annoying category right now. It is a health sponge, and it has a lot of weird, annoying mechanics. And there's a lot of mechanics that are happening like right off the bat with the waves and the whirlpools and all of those things. So with that, I have talked for 40 minutes. And with that, This is my thoughts on raid difficulties for 2026, where we're at quarter one patch, Visions of Eternity. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe. I don't usually like doing tier lists, but I had to make my own list. I had to prove my point and talk about my perspective on these things. So if you like the content, I appreciate it. If you watch to the end, I appreciate it. I want to give a big shout out to all of my members who support the channel. You can become a member from a link down below. I am also an Arenanet partner, so if you don't own all of the expansions and you want to support the channel, you can purchase them through my referral link down below as well. So with that, I appreciate you all. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.